Hello, friends, and welcome to the Strange and Beautiful Book Club's special Murderbot Edition episodes. Although we will try our best, please be aware that these episodes may contain, and probably will contain, at least some spoilers for the Murderbot novellas and the larger Murderbot universe. Hi, I'm Rachel.
I'm Kate.
And I'm Matt.
Welcome to the Strange and Beautiful Book Club, Murderbot Edition.
Yeah. Murderbot, the TV show.
We can't not talk about Murderbot.
We did. When did we cover Murderbot? A couple years ago?
Years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, years
long
ago. A
time
couple years
ago.
ago, we covered, when Rachel and I were without Hannah, we covered Murderbot
Yep.
on our book chat. And so now that the movie's out, I think Rachel, it was almost 2 years ago when we first found out. You told me, I was standing in your living room, and you were like, Apple TV picked up Murderbot, and
Yeah.
guess who Murderbot is? And then when you told me, I fell on the ground.
You did. I was like, Alexander Skarsgård. You're like, yes.
And
Oh,
I fell
he
on the
fainted.
ground with
Fell
excitement.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fell on the ground. So
That
here we
reaction
are.
feels justified because I think he really nailed it. I think he did a really good job.
I'm having a great time. I was so excited about this. I was telling Matt, Rachel and I talked a little bit earlier, but we'll try and repeat all the things. I'm so excited about the show. It's exactly what I think it needed to be. I am not a person that's genuinely hard on an adaptation,
Mhm.
but I think that the tone, obviously Apple TV has huge budgets for these shows. I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was
Um,
very, yeah.
I think all the
Yep.
shifts in the way that characters are, being portrayed are necessary for a TV adaptation. So I'm super happy.
It bears mentioning before we really get into it that I know I personally have read these multiple times.
I have
Matt has as well.
Yeah, I
and
have as
there's-
well. Yeah.
We are going to do our best to not spoil the rest of what could happen depending on how they follow the plot.
Mhm.
But it may slip in. So
Yeah, and we're going to have a section. We're going to try and have a section where we can talk openly about the story.
yeah.
Or maybe there could just be like a sound effect, or I don't know. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll do our best, but it's probably best to just go read it and then come back and listen. Or if you just, if you're here for the show, we totally respect that, and we're going to do our best
We're
to not
gonna do our
spoil any of
best, yeah.
anything that happens in the show. And they might change something. Some stuff
Yeah.
has been shifted around a little bit, but
Yeah, definitely already they've made some really big changes, which are fine. I've probably read these books 7 or 8 times, and I honestly I didn't expect them to follow it like plot. I don't want to see the show is just like the same dialogue, the same imagery. I didn't want to see the book
Right.
on the screen.
It's an adaptation.
I
Yeah.
wanted to see I wanted to see how, if you took real actors and what could you do with it? Like what new could you do with it? And I feel like everything that they did, I felt was an interesting or a worthwhile change.
Mhm.
And one of the things that Kate and I were talking about, and I think I mentioned it to you when we were watching it, is in the books, you're never afraid of Murderbot because Murderbot is your POV character. So
Right.
everything that you're seeing is through Murderbot's perspective.
Mhm.
And then when we got the show, there were definitely moments where I was like, oh, sec units are terrifying. Like when they were going to get into the ship, or they were hiding in the hopper because they didn't want Murderbot to hear what they were talking about.
Mhm.
And the door opened. And for a
Yes.
minute, I was like,
The
oh,
tension there. That was really
shit.
well done.
Matt goes, wow, I really like the tension. Like, I really liked that you were like, oh my God, if he showed up right now, it would be terrifying. Because it's like, oh, he's listening. He knows where we are. It knows where we are. And did you notice they did that? One of them called him he, and then they corrected them.
Yeah, Garothan
They were like,
was like, no,
you mean it?
Yeah.
It?
Well, but Garoff, what's his name?
Garothan. They call him Gura
Gura.
in the show.
Gura's also very like, we're not humanizing him yet. He's like very protective. He doesn't want, he's the one that's like, I understand more than most what this guy is capable of. And the hippy dippy commune people, right? Because they really do upplay the hippiness. I forgot how like crunchy this team of scientists is.
Yeah.
But they really want us to understand that. And as people who are emotionally intelligent, incredibly empathic, intuitive people, they immediately see this sentient construct as a whole being, a whole person deserving of all things. And he's like, hold up. Okay. He seems to be the one that really understands the impact and the stakes of having him around and what it could mean for him to not have his be detached from his governor module.
Yeah.
But I love the way I was telling Rachel, I love the way the show starts. I love the way they started it with him naming himself. And I sent them a Connor. I'm not kidding. I think Connor from Love on the Spectrum, because they talk about Murderbot being like on the spectrum. We talked about that in our podcast and how and what that means to understand his character, how awkward he is, what he really struggles with. When he was naming himself, I literally heard Connor's like rhythm, speech pattern in Murderbot. And I was like, oh my God, what if he did watch Love on the Spectrum to kind of get some to get some understanding of what that might look like, what that might feel like. So
yeah,
that Love on the Spectrum feels like a really good reference for how people on the spectrum handle like romantic situations or just close intimate situations.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole thing.
Yeah. Right. And him being so uncomfortable with just like just having his helmet off. I'm sorry. My armor is not ready. I cannot come into the next room. My armor is still nanoteching. The nanotech's not done. I can't come over there right now.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, just put on a crew uniform. And it's like,
I'm sorry, what?
What? You want me to? And then it came out and the pants were too short because Alexander Skarsgård is like so tall.
Yeah. I love the way, and I'm excited they're doing this. And I had hoped that they would find a way to do this. I love the like stacked dialogue, like what he says to them, what he's saying in his head, what he says to them, what he's saying to his head. It is I think that's such a tricky thing to do in television, but it does keep it so true to the book so that we do kind of always have his first person perspective.
Yeah.
I also think it's such a smart move to start making it kind of a mystery, the trauma and what was this event that he has like glimpses of, right? And that differs a little bit from the book.
It does. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because in the book,
don't do it.
It's not a
we
mystery.
know more. We know more.
It's not a mystery.
It's not a mystery. Yeah.
And what is a mystery but isn't a mystery in the show is that there's alien remnants on the planet. Like that reveal was in episode 2, whereas in the book that is the reveal of the
book.
Yeah.
Well, and there I was a little bit surprised by that, and I'm glad that you mentioned it because it was in episode 2, right?
Yeah.
And they're making the mystery and they're making the plot of the series more about the characters and the connections and the intimacy and who Murderbot is and do sentient constructs, are they people? And that type of depth is so much more powerful than, there's alien remnants, right? Like that's the subplot.
Yeah. It was a good move.
And for you to have multiple seasons of a show. Also, let's point out, Matt, we were saying this earlier, so I apologize. Well, you haven't heard it. No one's heard me say this, so I'm not repeating myself.
No.
I love that they immediately start with him being profane and cussing. It immediately makes us like him. There is a thing about profanity that makes you more authentic.
Yeah.
You connect it as stronger, emotion, and it's a way of breaking that formality that you would have as a sec unit. But he immediately starts calling everybody assholes. And I
Asshole.
love when
Actually, that guy's not bad.
Yeah.
yeah, he's an asshole. He's an asshole. He's an asshole. I think he says asshole like 6 times in the first few minutes
Yeah.
of the show. And that is so funny for where we might be headed later on. Like, I just love the emphasis on asshole.
Yeah. And the floating text is perfect
yeah.
to see
And
what it's doing internally.
Yeah, and see hub system so that if that comes up at another point, like you can go back and go, oh, the hub system was talking to us the whole time, and you're seeing what system he's connecting to see where he's getting the information.
Yeah. All of its internal dialogue was perfect.
Right. And I love the dramatic slowing down and like sparks in the air of him being like, I shall call myself Murderbot. I thought that was
it felt a little flippant, like.
Well, because there's in the book, why he names himself that. And that's the only reason I was like, well, there's no story sense, except then you get that vision of him killing everybody in the hopper, which is a really good addition, because it's like, oh, he has the option at any point of just killing everybody and being free. And instead it chooses to stay and do its job. Yeah. And we get a couple glimpses of it trying to do its job, or it doing its job. And then the internal dialogue is talking about how dumb it thinks its job is. So instead of having to keep repeating, well, because I fucking hate my job, you just get it. Like, it has to secure the hub system. So it's like, okay, the med system's fine. Oh, look, the stairs are okay too. Like, I guess I checked those out. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, it feels like I'm capable of so much more than this, and yet this is what I'm doing. I'm checking to make sure
this is a waste of my time.
Yeah, I'm operating at 20%. Like, it takes 10% of what I'm capable of for me to do my job at a pretty high standard.
Yeah, and Sanctuary Moon was
perfect. I want to go back and talk about the intro, the credits, because I loved it. I loved how, you've got 100, this assembly line of sec units, right? And then this guy pops out, and then all of a sudden it zooms into his eye and into his mind. Boldness for all, y'all.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden when you're in his mind, that's when you get the bold colors, the purple, the green, there's this vivid world happening in his mind. And that really is such a great metaphor for the show and metaphor for who he is, because he's constantly dissociating and watching all these incredibly dramatic and imaginative shows. But I love the color difference in Sanctuary Moon, how bright, how vivid, how saturated it is, versus being on this weird alien planet that's so what's the right word? I don't know, the opposite of that.
Bleak,
dry, Also in the credits, when he sees the people and he knows, you can see that he's drawn to protecting them, and then also running the fuck away from them.
Yeah.
The thing that he is called to do, he is all that's the thing that he also is running away from.
Yep.
Yeah. And that immediate juxtaposition between him calling himself Murderbot and going on a grand galaxy adventure, and then turning around and choosing only what it knows.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm still doing my job.
Yeah. Okay, so I didn't do something crazy, and then he's justifying why he didn't do something crazy. I have so many choices. I could do anything I want. I'm not going to do that.
I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to keep doing my job. Yeah.
Because they would throw me in a vat of acid and liquefy my organic parts.
Yeah. I liked the space station. I liked how organic that looked.
Oh, it was so cool.
I was surprised by that. I thought it was going to look a lot more traditional.
Straight lines.
Well, that's a great way
on the outside.
Well, it's a great way to show we've been spacefaring for a really long time. We're past
it's not all
boxes and
beforehand
rectangles.
engineered and constructed. It's like grown.
Like organically
like
grown.
you build it with metal and stuff,
Yeah.
but it doesn't need to be symmetric, and it doesn't need to look clean.
Yeah. I loved that the corporate baddie, I don't want to call her that, but one of the corporate ladies, the corporate rep, I love that her makeup was just a strip of white sticker.
Across her eye.
You're so
liked
chic,
that
girl.
scene. I like
You're
that
so
scene.
chic. Yeah.
The first one that they pull up, the first sec unit, the newer, better sec unit is the sec unit design that they use on the cover of the books.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so that's like a reference to the designer who designed the covers. But of course, they've created their own. But he's like in the background, leaning against the wall, and they're like,
doing the American
"What's
lean?"
that one?" And they're like, "Oh, that's a refurbished unit. You don't want that one." And he's like,
"Oh,
"It's like,
that's a piece of shit."
It's like, yeah, you don't want me. I don't even want me. Like, don't pick me.
Yeah, please don't rent me.
Yeah, and they're like, "Well, I think we're gonna go with the affordably priced option."
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, damn it, I don't want to go.
I think the first time I laughed out loud in the show is when they are like, hold on, let us get hold, please. We need a consensus. And they all stand up and they get in their circle and they hold hands and they hum to consensus.
Yeah.
They hum to consensus. And then they're like, Guru, come on, get in here. And then, finally they get everybody's approval.
Yeah.
But he's hesitant.
And then it goes, what the hell was that?
What is that? Yeah. And I think Rach and I were saying, we're repeating this to each other, but the hippy dippy crunchy scientists who are from preservation. So what is it called? Preservation Society?
It's just preservation. I think they're just called preservation. I don't think they have like a.
Well,
they're preservation ox on the planet.
Okay, there you go. Preservation ox. So in tuned, so emotional, so empathic. Did I already say this?
Yeah.
Did I say
not
this?
on this.
Oh, okay, okay. Sorry. Them being so in tuned and Murderbot immediately being like, they're so fucking weird.
Oh no,
and
did they see me? Did they actually see me?
They have a very special set of skills to immediately notice that this sentient construct is feeling feelings.
I think it's going through something.
Yeah. And holding space for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were perfectly equipped to, incorporate him into their group.
Yeah.
Because of their empathy and like compassion.
I like Pinley. It's Pinley and Arata, right?
Yeah.
Pinley and Arata. When Pinley's like, well, she was crazy. And I mean, she was dysregulated.
Yeah, she was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What are we going to call her? Are we really going to use a C word to describe her?
Dysregulated.
She was dysregulated.
And there was some controversy because they eliminated Oversay. Yeah. There's that other character, but I don't care.
And I think they gender swapped.
I don't know because I never can remember what gender anybody is in the books because Murderbot doesn't care.
Yeah.
So it never refers to any, like the first time you meet someone, it will tell you what its feed tag is and what their feed tag is. And that's it. Other than that,
it's just names.
And so Oversay, I kept forgetting, like I've read the books many times. I forget until the novel who Oversay is. And I only remember in the novel because we finally separate Oversay and Arata. Because other than that, they're interchangeable.
I also think the character that gets bitten at the top or the beginning,
Baradwaj.
I think that they are male in the.
No, Baradwaj is a girl, but there's Valescu.
Oh,
which they also took out, and I think
that's
a guy. And they're the ones that are in the crater. And I liked how they did that because in the crater, when Murderbot escorts them out in the book, it doesn't remember talking to them at all. And then in the show, we didn't see it talk to them until later when they played back the video. And it's like, so what planet are you from originally? Oh, that's nice. How many kids do you have? And they're like, how did it know to say that? And it's like, oh, I have a module on that. And it's like, episode 497 of Sanctuary Moon. And then it showed us like the guy's like speared against the wall. That was pitch perfect.
And I also love that we go immediately from what does he say? It's going to be okay. Everything's fine.
You have
You
my
have
word.
my word. I
Mhm.
love that we go from immediately watching that on TV, immediately
Yeah.
watching it, to him saying it in real life. And
Yeah.
just the tone he says it in, it's so poorly acted, like poorly
Yes.
presented.
Right?
It is so sterile. Hold please, it's
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
And then they repeat that at the end of that episode, which is a good
Yeah,
moment
that's how
because
that's how the episode ends.
because if you've never read the books, you have no way of knowing what way Murderbot is going to go. And so building the tension there is perfect
Mhm.
because the choice that we don't either, because we don't know what they're going to do for this adaptation. Like, I don't know how far they're going to take the fact that sec units are fucking terrifying to everyone except this little group of people who just want to love everybody.
Yeah.
I think an extra bit of context for we don't know what they're going to do is it says based on All Systems Red, not based on the Murderbot Diaries book series.
Yeah.
So this could be like a reboot.
Well, yeah, we could go anywhere from here.
Where we cover All Systems Red, the first book, but then veer off in a different direction
Yeah.
than the books.
I thought it was interesting. We already know that Delphall's dead.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was too, because you don't need that to be. You're not focused on that as the main plot line. Our main plot line is Murderbot going
With these
to
people.
murder everybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
like who is he? How much control does he have? And Matt, I said earlier, talking about how it's so interesting that his main purpose is to secure and to protect.
Mhm.
And we have seen this glimpse of trauma, and he really is, by disconnecting from his governor module, ultimately just protecting more.
Yeah.
He really is serving, that is his highest purpose. And he's just step by step realizing I do this better, and I'm better at this if I'm not being controlled. And that's the
Right.
question. He has free will, and he's doing his job even better. He's better at his job with free will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's doing it at 10%.
Yeah.
And watching him go. Sorry, my little dog's going through something. I'm making sure she's not fucking up my couch. Hey. Little girl dogs, But yeah, I think that is what the through line throughout the season, the whole series is going to be, is how close to human is this? How close to human is he? And what it means to be AI, but
Yeah.
also organic matter and all of the things. I love that we saw how androgynous he was, and it
Like a
was
lot.
we saw full on androgyny.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little
Instant.
disappointed he doesn't have, because a big plot line in the books is that it has inorganic and organic parts. And so that's what makes it hard for it to pass as human, like fully
Right.
human.
Like its feet look
different.
slightly robotic.
And it's fine that they just made
Did we
it
see-
Alexander
do
Skarsgård
we
with
see
a
its
Ken
feet?
scoop.
Yeah,
Huh?
Yeah, we've seen it because he comes
Ken-
out barefoot when he has the crew
Yeah,
uniform
it just
on.
yeah.
it's Alexander Skarsgård with his junk edited off, and that's fine. It's fine. I'm not mad about it, but I was
No,
like,
yeah.
oh, okay, well, that's okay. That's fine. I did miss. There's one moment that I wish they'd kept, and it's fine that they didn't. But after he gets attacked in the crater, and it goes to get in its cubicle, and Mensa shows up, and it realizes that it's left bloody armor all across the floor, and it holds Bardwaj all the way back, and ups its body temperature to try to keep her warm. I was like, I really liked that moment, but okay, it's fine that they don't have it. But it realized
they can't do it all. And
Right.
I told him,
And
it's a really small moment that shows how much he cares and how much he has to, how hard he's trying.
right.
Mhm.
And I think they would have undermined some of the later tension if we had included that. So I get it that we don't. Because they really are, like you said, and it's true, they're really just focusing on how Murderbot is going to relate to these people through the crisis. The crisis itself is just the backdrop to it going through the thing that it's going through, which is can I be myself with someone and be safe? And I don't know. And that's like my favorite scene in the whole 2 episodes that got released was when it was talking just to Guathrin. Like after it wakes up and they've left on the hopper and it's pissed. And then it comes out and Guathrin's like, well, you have to make eye contact with me. I order you to make eye contact with me. And then they have
I
that.
really like that scene.
And it's like.
And the Guathrin actor is doing a great job.
Yeah. I liked when.
Yeah.
And then it gets pinged with this like security thing. And Guathrin's like, what's happening? And it says, I don't know. I'm not there. And it's the most Murderbot line delivery I could have. Like, it was so. If I had to my dream line delivery by Murderbot from the book, it would have been that. I don't know. I'm not there. Like, I should be there.
Look. Yeah.
I should be there. I'm not there to protect her. So if anything happens, it's not my fault.
It's not my fault.
Whose fault is it?
Yeah, whose fault is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he did such a good job of, like I was saying, when Guru is just with preservation, he's way sharper and way like tense about Murderbot, what Murderbot can do. Obviously, he's the one that like really understands how bad he could be.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he's with him, you get this moment where he's like, it feels like he's being authentic, but also a little manipulative to try and get to the bottom of what's going on with Murderbot. And this like very skillful play between those two things. But at the end of the day, he does seem like a genuinely like softer, gentler guy who would have joined preservation 6 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it humanized him and made him not feel as much of a. In the first episode, I was like, "Stop fucking with our boy, leave him alone."
Right.
And in
At
the
first,
second
he comes
episode,
off as really like
a douche,
negatively confrontational, and then by the end of episode 2, it's like, oh, he's just trying to protect his family.
Yeah.
And he realizes that they're never going to get it. Like
right.
they're two.
He's the only one that
they're two.
realizes
We're all going to get along, and it's going to be fine.
Yeah. There's like a naivete to that,
mm-hmm.
you know, like when I think that's why she goes into shock so quickly. I also love that not to go backwards, but when she is in shock, his immediate like handsome face and confidence immediately makes her feel better. She's like, oh, look at his sweet, gentle face. Oh, you want me to be okay? Okay. I'm okay.
I'll follow you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yes, girl, that's how we all are.
Hand out. I was like, oh, I love a good hand moment. The like, reaches its hand out, and she's like, okay. She takes its hand. Like, I'd take your hand too, Alexander.
Yeah, and when they talk about his sweet face later, and Rafi's like, yeah, it's a nice face.
Yeah. That was a really good moment.
There's also a moment where Penley says something kind of insensitive towards it. Oh, talking about company property and it all being a piece of shit. And is it Rafi? She looks at no. What's the other lady? Her wife's name? What's her wife's name?
Arata.
Arata looks at her and is like, don't say.
Yeah,
right
like
there.
it's company. It's company.
Don't hurt his feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're so cognizant of not offending people and not offending Murderbot.
Yeah, it was cute.
It was
good, and I liked the change. I was telling Matt and you that I read this Wired article, and I got about halfway through it before the author was like, "Well, I've only read it like once, and I just read it," and I was like, who assigned you this article? Because it was like, well, I don't like that Mensa isn't as strong as she is in the books. And I liked the change to Mensa because in the book, everything is Murderbot point of view. So you're only seeing people the way Murderbot
we have a whole new
sees
lens
them.
on this story.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing it from outside of Murderbot's head.
And you can see it's immediate. It gives it a reason to immediately attach the need to protect Mensa because it knows that she's having a panic attack and that she's too stubborn to turn around. And it's like
it even says physical danger, psychological danger.
Yeah.
And it's hard to play unreliable narrator in a television show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so you can't really do that on TV.
It's a lot harder.
Well, your audience has to trust you. They have to trust unless there's a deliberate reason not to. Well, they need to know that your narrator's telling the truth.
And that panic is between her and Murderbot because no one else gets to see that.
No.
You know, when she gets back from that second journey, when they realize that the centipedes are all dying and headed towards the alien remnants, she is very short with Guru.
Yeah.
Gura.
Gura. It's like,
With
she's like, I
Guru.
just need to take a shower.
She's
Mhm.
like, she's short with him. And then she goes and has a moment, right? Where she's
Yeah.
like, I think really respectably aware of the emotions and what it means to bear the burden of leadership. And I think she's a woman and she's expressing that stuff and
Mhm.
getting it out of her body instead of just stoically walking around. And we're so used to stoicism being what leadership looks like, when in
Yeah.
reality, effective processing of feelings looks like you
Yeah.
have a breakdown
Yeah.
in your bedroom.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like it too. I liked seeing her a little bit more vulnerable. I think that it fits the I do think the books are a little bit drier, and the undertones are a little bit more subtle, in a way that it had to be dramatized. It had to
Yeah.
it had to look a little bit more overt on
Yeah.
screen.
Well, Murderbot's never catching the emotional undertone to anything that's happening.
Right.
It's only
Right.
privy to like the immediate words that people are speaking, and pretty much that's it. Like whatever it can interpret based on what it's learned from TV shows, and that's it.
But
So
I
it
also
wouldn't know if meant like it'll do a thing where it's like, I think I'm like, I've analyzed her facial expression and my thing is coming back to
and
me
her
saying she's like
heartbeat.
tense. Yeah, or her heart rate is up, but her face still looks calm.
Mhm.
And that's about as much as it can do. And so to translate it to the screen, like you have to make these people, or they would
Right.
just be too dry. Like it works in
Yeah.
a book, it would never work on TV.
Right, and I think that's something I actually made a note about how much more intuitive he is about people's emotions, because he is constantly monitoring their body systems.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
can hear their heartbeat, he can hear their blood speed. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, he knows all this stuff is happening, and that reads as a language that he doesn't even realize is, like, intuitive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I know that they are aroused walking up the stairs.
Yeah.
Like
And
when he
it's
does
like,
the thing about how, oh, she loves him, but he loves her, and to introduce our throuple, because he's just paying attention to their body systems.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
gives him another level of, another like a closer
Extra
proximity to
context.
humor
Yeah.
and emotion. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like Alexander, I thought when they cast him, he was going to be perfect. And I feel extremely justified in that. Like the moment when it leaves and it goes back into the security room and it
And
just stands
face
and leans
against
its
the
face
wall.
against the wall,
Yeah.
like, oh my fucking God, that was the worst thing that could have possibly ever happened
Like
to me.
this,
I was like, I get it. It was so
Yeah.
good. It was such a good, and then it gets mad because it wants to protect them and they're actively working against it. And it's like, I'm going to keep you alive, even if I have to fucking do it against your wishes. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just, because I like you guys. It likes them immediately, but it doesn't know that that's what that is. It just knows.
Yeah.
I think it feels, it doesn't know that it likes them, but it feels psychologically safe close to them.
Yeah. But it doesn't know that that's what that means, which I felt like it was conveyed really well in the TV show.
It even says that when Gura asks, what's it like to be you? And
He's
it
like,
says,
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know anything other than this. So
Yeah.
it's learning what all these emotions feel like real life in front of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Also,
When
if
they-
I use he, I apologize.
Well, if you
My
want to know
brain-
our feelings on that, just listen to the Murderbot episode where we're like,
Mhm.
it is it. And it's referred to as it in the book, but the audiobook narrator is male. It's really a struggle to not
I mean,
use
it's Eric
he.
Northman playing
I know.
Murderbot.
Just think of it, we're referring to the actor and not to the
I know.
Murderbot,
And
the
that's true.
character.
That's true. Well, I try, but my brain doesn't work as fast as others.
It's okay.
I do my best.
It kind of reminds me of in Monk and Robot when they're like, we can't just call you it, and it's like, why not? Does an object not have does an object have less value? Does it have less value?
Sometimes that's how we have associated.
Yeah,
it.
sometimes
Yeah.
it does, and we'll get there. But
Yeah.
I felt like I was. There were a couple moments where it felt rocky, Like, there was the moment where Gwathrin was like, "Eye contact, that's a really weird phrase. It kind of feels like I have eye stalks and you have eye
I didn't
stalks."
understand that.
And I was like, "I don't what are we trying to
Yeah.
soften the character right now? Or is he trying to disarm Murderbot?" Or I was like, that didn't land. There was definitely a couple moments where I was like, that didn't land. But I feel
Mhm.
like when I rewatch it, it'll be fine. Like, as long as I know that's coming, I'll be okay with it. But it was just like a weird, I don't know. I was expecting like a tense conversation between
Mhm.
Gwathrin, because in the book they don't like each other. In the show
Right.
they don't like
Oh,
each other.
the immediate competitiveness that he doesn't understand where it's really coming from.
Yeah.
Or it has this immediate ego response kinda
Yeah.
to the he
It's like, well, my
the part
processor's
where
bigger, obviously.
the part where he's like, yeah, the part where it's like I can feel him poking around my head and it like moves him out of the way and then he's like,
"Oops, I
"Oh,
didn't see you there.
sorry."
Yeah. And then it
The
knows
petty, it's the
Gwathrin's
petty, it's the
that
petty. I love
when
the petty.
yeah, when Gwathrin is trying to hack into its like neural, like to see what it's thinking about, and it just directs it to the camera feed of Rothy and Penley and Arata trying to make out together.
Oh yeah?
He
Are
won't
you
do
gonna
that
poke around
again.
in my mind? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the security camera from their bedroom.
Yeah.
After they
Oh,
just
that's
signed the
funny.
contract
Yeah.
Mhm.
to be a
I
throuple.
pulled up a contract. We
It was
didn't have a
so
contract
cute.
last time. Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
that was really funny. I love how often it uses like the perimeter as
Yeah.
a
I'm
an
gonna go
excuse
walk
to
around the perimeter.
I'm just gonna go do the perimeter really fast. It's like
Yeah.
it's an automatic way of doing its job.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something. I do that all the time in my life. I'm like, oh, I can't do that. I have an appointment. I have a showing tomorrow. I
Yeah.
have a showing.
Mhm.
I have a
I won't
showing.
be able to meet you. I
Yeah.
have a showing tomorrow. Yeah.
It's just
Do
a
that
thing.
too.
And then it tries to do it and Gwathrin's like, you don't need to check the perimeter. And it's like, shit, it didn't take the the
Yeah.
perimeter excuse.
Yeah.
But then they go through the whole thing where it's trying to like talk Mensa through almost being killed by one of those centipede things.
Mhm.
And Gwathrin realizes that he put the survey team in danger by not trusting Sec Unit. And Sec Unit's like, I'm going to go check the perimeter now. And Gwathrin's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
It was very subtle. All of the way that they communicated that, it was really good. Like everything, the interpersonal way that they actually communicated stuff that in the book has to be spelled out
Right.
felt very well. I'm glad Martha Wells was so involved in this because I can
Mhm.
tell.
Right.
I can tell that she was like, this is how this conversation would go down.
Can
Here's how. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead, Kate.
I was going to say it still feels like it was written by a woman.
Yeah.
And I really am grateful for that.
Yeah.
Because so often when I think the writers are the executive producers, writers, I think they are gentlemen. But I really love that they're highlighting the things that feel the most. I don't know. I'm just grateful that it still very much feels like the books, and they're
Yeah.
not
The
like
vibes are right.
yeah, the vibes are right. And while I do love the action and I love the sci-fi and I love the tech of it and I love, how murdery the murder is.
Yeah.
I'm just grateful that they're really the things that matter the most to me, which is the character development and the interpersonal relationships and
Are still
and
there.
are still very much highlighted.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I mean, it's a walking weapon with guns built into its arms. So
Yeah.
with the wrong guy at the helm, it could have just been, wow, look at how good it is at killing stuff and running around and jumping. And it's
Right.
like Blade Runner all over again. And it gets to go
Yeah.
and shoot stuff and be the perfect soldier. And instead it's like, oh no, it doesn't like talking in front of people. It would literally rather die. When it gives the speech and it's like, it's my job.
Oh yeah, give
I
a speech or
was-
die or get an acid. Give a speech or die in acid.
And it's like, I was just doing my job. And it's like, God, I should have gone with the acid bath. Like I should have just.
And when Grathan says, see, that wasn't so bad. He's like, it was so bad.
It was so bad.
It was the
This
worst
is
thing
so,
ever.
So bad. All of its internal dialogue. When it
Mhm.
when it says no, but then says yes out loud. Like every
Yeah.
time that it answers in its head and then it answers out loud, but it gives the like PC version of what it actually thought.
Mhm.
I can't wait until it finally, like we get to the part where everyone finally knows it can say whatever it wants.
Mhm.
Like, I'm ready to hear to get to that point and see how they changed it. Like, that's such a big shift in the book because it's finally like, I get to be myself, but, like, is myself scary? Is myself okay? Like, what are they gonna do if I am myself? Like, what are they gonna do if I take up space? I don't like, instead of just hiding in the ready room.
Mhm.
But
In my box over there with the
yeah,
rest of the equipment.
although
What
its
happens
cubby
when
is, like, standing up. It's like a
Yeah.
med system thing.
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, okay." I did like when it's watching TV and it does the, like,
Yeah, you can
reflections
Eye
in
see.
its
thing.
eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that we got World Hopper and the medical drama
Med
show.
system Argala and yeah. And every clip from Sanctuary Moon, I was like, "Thank you. This is so good." When
I love that
they're
Philip
like, "We're gonna
Coulson.
make love." That's what you
Yeah,
call it,
right.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Making love, and then they do the, like, weird hand thing, and I was like, "This is so perfect." Like, this is so perfect.
And
It's
when he says the thing about maximum, he's basically saying maximum effort in, like, a different way. Like, there were
yeah.
all
Mhm.
these, like, subtle things that are in these dramatic movies.
Yeah.
Boldness and all. I'm gonna start saying that. Boldness and all, y'all.
As soon as they said that in the show, I was like, "Oh, he's about to say that." And then it
Mhm.
cut to the scene where he
Yeah.
thinks about killing everybody in the hopper. I love that it was staring at the wall, which is the thing it does in the book, where
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
walk over and just stare at the wall, and it's like, "This is not a normal sec unit thing, but I have to do this. Like, I don't have an option right now." I just
Yeah.
woo. Yeah.
I think this is a random thought, but the in the opening credits, the little black things that keep coming, I think those are gonna be what combat units look like.
I hope so. We mentioned comfort units, and it
I
didn't
know.
call them sex bots. It was
Nope.
like comfort units. They're like, "Oh,
Yep.
yeah, what do they
Mhm.
do?" And he's like, "Sex." Sex, like, I don't wanna talk about
He
it.
said, this is the part when he's talking about the throuple and them getting it busy. He's like, this is the part I always skip in the shows.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Horrible. Horrible.
I know,
And
we're setting up immediately. It does not like
no, it is not.
mm-mm.
That is not for it.
No,
Yeah.
I know, and it's a shame because it looks like Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah, it looks like the Viking.
Like
Eric North.
ripped.
Eric Northman, everybody. the Northman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think he's a great choice too. I think it later on, I'm about to say something. You can skip ahead 30 seconds. But I think later on, they can highlight like that he doesn't have hair. They could highlight some of those things later on and kind of
Yeah.
like recon how human he looks, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, as that stuff. Because that, well, I mean, I guess they could eliminate it later when he like changes his, like he's shorter or like
Yeah.
they change his height.
Yeah. After
Because
it meets art.
Who?
Skip ahead.
I hope that I
90
genuinely
seconds.
skip ahead 25 minutes. I genuinely really hope that we meet Art at the end of the first season.
Mhm.
I think that would be a great last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because that's
good
like the
hook.
very beginning of the next book.
Yeah. I wasn't sure I was going to like the half-hour length, but I think I like the half-hour length because it gives us just enough time to get like one tense moment in and then
Yeah.
Well,
cliffhanger.
and typically you can tell by length what the tone of a show is going to be like because typically comedies or something that's meant to be funny tend to be shorter.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I think that that's a perfect length for the series because of the novella length of each novel.
Yeah. The books are so short and they're so succinct.
I mean, it's literally the length of the audiobook.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where when I was watching the second episode, I was like, we're really far along. How are they going to stretch this into another 6 episodes?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm interested to see. I don't really care what we do. I'm happy the characters are on the screen.
Pretty quickly, we're pretty quickly through the first. I mean, we're quite a bit of the ways through the first novella.
Yeah, we're good 2/3 of the way because we don't find out about Deltfall until far later. And they don't know that they're gone for a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. They never went off without him in the book?
Mm-mm.
No, they don't.
Okay, because I was like, I remember that was when the autopilot fails in the book. The
Yeah.
autopilot fails. And
Right.
you're like, what the fuck is going on? Thank God Menza flies the planes herself.
Yeah.
You
'cause-
know?
Yeah. In the book, they're like, we're going to go investigate the missing sections of the map.
Right.
And we'll leave you here. And it's like, no, you will not. In fact, I will
I'm
be
not
coming
going to
with
let
you.
that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they let it ride in the crew cabin. And it's like, oh, I don't like this. And it's sitting up front. And that's when Rothy's trying to get it to talk about its feelings. And they're like, Rothy, we talked about this. You're not
Leave
supposed to
it-
talk about its
Yeah.
feelings. And it's like, like
And I think it was
like
really
asking
useful
a-
to have him have alone time with Garothan,
yeah.
because in the book, the tension, the relationship between Murderbot and Garothan it's pretty much all in Murderbot's head.
Yeah. You don't know how Garothan actually feels. It
Right.
just it thinks that Garothan doesn't like it.
Right. But to get
Yeah.
the depth of their
And it
the
doesn't like him.
relationship, you had to have them be alone in the room.
Yeah, because we have that one exchange in the book where Garothan pushes it. It's like, so you can't be punished by your governor module, but I could just punish you by making eye contact. And Murderbot's like, yeah, probably right up until I realize I have guns built into my arms.
Oh, I loved the guns and the arms. It looked exactly like I thought it would.
Yeah. And that's when Mensa's like, well, you got it to threaten you, but not actually attack you. Do you feel better now? And
Right.
Garothan's like, yeah, I do. And so I'm wondering if we're going to get that moment where it finally, if Garothan's trying to push Murderbot into actually physically threatening him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if we're going to, I hope we get that moment because that was always a good moment. when
That's
he's
a
like,
pivotal moment, because it's
like,
it's
I
like
could kill you right now and I'm not doing it. So
your strongest enemy becomes your strongest friend,
Yeah.
because you had to convince them of the whole thing.
yeah. Although
Yeah.
later it's like, I don't like you. Remember when it's out of it and Garothan's sitting with it and it's like, I don't like you. And Garothan's like, I know you don't like me. Like, I like everybody but you. And he's like, I know.
Yeah. Well, and you can already feel that because of how petty it is towards Gura.
Yeah. Well, my processor's bigger anyway.
Yeah, I'm so much
Yeah.
faster.
Oh, look at me. I'm an augmented
Oh,
human.
sorry, didn't mean to push you around. Sorry.
It's good.
And-
I'm
and
looking forward to the next
It's the
episode.
defensiveness because he knows that he's the only. It's like, when you. I'm kind of like that. Like, I like everybody unless you don't like me, and then of course I'm not going to like you because you didn't
Yeah.
deserve my like in the first place. That's
Right.
kind of how he is.
What's wrong with you?
It's like kind of an ego thing a little bit where you're like, oh, you don't like me? Fine then. I'm
It-
gonna.
It feels childish, like childish and petty, which is what it should
Yeah.
feel like because Murderbot's not that old. Murderbot
No.
is like, chronologically a child. And so
Right.
that pettiness of like, oh, you can do what I do, but I can do it better. And
Yeah,
like,
that
Yeah.
immaturity is appropriate.
oh, you don't trust me to be able to do my job. Like you're keeping me from being able to actually keep people safe because you think I'm going to hurt you. God, you're such an idiot. Like that's the vibe. And that's exactly the vibe you need. That's the vibe you needed for that. So
Right.
I'm excited to talk more with Penley. I think Penley got like 2 lines. So like Penley's one of my
that's
favorite
interesting.
characters.
I think Penley talked quite a bit.
Did she?
I saw her
Well, we had some interpersonal stuff with her and Arata, but we didn't get a lot of her with
Like, she was
Murderbot.
okay. Yeah, I'm
And
excited.
she's one of Murderbot's like strongest
Allies.
allies because she goes to bat for Murderbot a lot in the books.
Mhm.
I
And
can't
so-
wait. I keep thinking about like I love the part in the book. Skip ahead. Where he wakes
This is
up.
probably a good point if you haven't read the book to just quit because we're
Just
winding
pop.
down to the
Bye,
like just
see ya.
bye. We'll see you later.
I love the part where he wakes back up and all of a sudden she's there in some kind of like killer boss ass lawyer suit.
Mhm.
And she's
Yeah.
like, this is what we're doing, blah, 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 blah. And she turns into the boss baddie. I love that part. I can't wait for
Yeah.
that.
He's like, she's like a lawyer from one of my serials. She's
Yeah.
so good at this. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And he's so
Yeah.
drawn to what these people offer because he is seeing it in all of his shows, right? And there's such a time where, I think emotional intelligence, you see so much stuff in content, and when you see it in real life, it looks kind of similar,
Yeah.
Mhm.
except a little muted, a little dumbed down, not as
Yeah.
bold.
Right.
Yeah.
Not quite
Boldness,
Sanctuary Moon
boldness in
boldness.
some, not boldness in all. Yeah.
Not boldness in all. Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up. Unless you
Yeah.
had anything
I'm
else you
really
wanted to add, Matt.
excited about it. I had a really great time.
I think this is
think-
gonna. I'm I think it's important to note that we are not the people that are going to be like, this wasn't like the book and I'm really mad about it. I'm like, you want to read the book, read the book. The stuff that happens in the book will always happen in the book.
Right.
So
Right.
no one gets to take that away from you.
Every media is going to be different.
Yeah, well, because we experience them all differently. So when you take a book and you turn it into TV, of course it's going to look different. It's got to look different because you want to get the same feeling, but you can't get the same feeling from the same, just like
Right.
apples to apples. You have to
you have to
switch it up.
present it differently to get the same emotional reaction.
Correct.
And honestly, the show's taking the things that I like the most about the book and highlighting them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm good with it.
Yeah. The stuff that the
Yeah,
things
we
that you really have
skipped
to
a whole
fill
bunch
in,
of the tech stuff,
which is fine.
which
And
But
is
it's
fine.
sometimes, but
You
also
don't need to know it.
in TV as well, you have to be really careful with over exposing, like exposition too quick, too soon.
Mhm.
Because
yeah,
then
they-
it feels like sci-fi. It feels too much sci-fi, and you're
Yeah.
going to lose a lot of audience. This
They
show
did
is
a-
about interpersonal relationships.
They did a good job of really showing you some of what he's capable of without telling you what he's capable of. Like when he's
Yeah.
walking around the hab at the very beginning, he walks by all the screens that are turned off. And as he walks by, they all pop up with different data. Like they all
Yeah.
turn on and they all
Mhm.
have different readouts on them, like he's accessing them and turning them on, which he can do. And it's a big part of what he does in the book, but it's all internal in the book. So how are we going to... You can't do that on TV. It would be so boring. It'd just be him standing there. And they do that for like 2 seconds where he's like, yeah, you're right. The maps are not syncing correctly.
Mhm.
But other than that, we don't have where he's literally most of the time just in his head in the computer system or watching people through the cameras or whatever. So they
Yeah.
did a really good job of just subtly and the way that we showed a lot of what was happening in the show as if it's on a security camera.
Mhm.
No, I was just thinking that. I love that they showed you the way he chooses to engage, which is
Yeah.
by watching the security feed instead of the eye contact.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
I'm
like,
gonna watch him through the security feed because that's less creepy.
that's way less creepy. It's like sex. Which was so perfect.
Where he's like slightly off turned, and his eyes are like opaque because he's like doing the computer thing instead of engaging in life.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's like a tiny, tiny, tiny delay in response that like they can feel, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, they know. They know it's watched. Like that's one of my because eventually they all know it's always watching them, but it's always watching them through security cameras, and it'll be like, "Isn't that right, Murderbot?" And he'll be like, "What? No," and then it'll turn the cameras off. I wasn't watching. I don't know what you're talking about. It's fine.
Yeah. Wait, did we talk on this show about how the first time he cusses in the book is when did we talk about that?
No, we haven't talked about that. No, not. We were talking about that earlier because in the book, the first time he says the F word is way later. It's after when they're like, they're talking about Sanctuary Moon, and they're like
testing him.
the solicitors.
He's like, that's a fucking lie.
That's a fucking lie.
That's the first time he cusses in the book.
Yeah,
and the first time it cusses in the book, and that's why I love that they started with him being like, I have so much free will. I'm going to say asshole and shit and fuck you as much as I want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the book, it's that's a fucking lie. And they're like, oh, yeah. Anyways, I'm excited. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I love Apple TV. I think they're doing an amazing job. I argue with people on the internet all the time, and I will tell you when. Anytime anybody's like, Throne of Glass should be on HBO. I'm like, fuck that. HBO doesn't have my trust anymore after what they did to Game of Thrones. You guys know how I feel about that. Apple TV is the dominant source for streaming now. They're the ones that are doing the fantasy and the sci-fi shows with the budgets they deserve, the writers they deserve, and the like reverence and respect that they deserve. HBO can suck it, and Apple TV is in its era of reigning.
Right. It feels like Apple TV is giving their creative people like autonomy
and the money
they're
need.
not micromanaging the production of the shows. They're saying, we trust you to make a good show, and we're going to keep our noses out of it.
Well, they finally realized that these properties come with an audience
Right.
and that they are the audience you have to make happy.
right.
And if you don't, then they will leave and they will take everyone
And they'll
with them.
poison the entire community.
Well, they'll either bring people with
They
them
will.
or they'll take everyone with them.
Mhm.
And you have to
Right.
respect that, like, these books have been out a long time. They are beloved. They have earned a lot of awards. They have
A lot of
been,
awards.
Like, there are Instagram channels that are dedicated solely to Murderbot, and all they do is talk about Murderbot and
Mhm.
break down gender roles and talk about, and that's all they do. And these are not long books, so they have been chewed over a lot. And then you're going to make a TV show out of that. Like, you have to nail it.
Yeah.
And
You
I
better
think
be
they
plugged
did.
in.
Yeah, and I think they did.
But you
happy with it.
also have to be able to make artistic and creative choices that
Mhm.
Right.
aren't going to this might not be the next water cooler show, right? So you
Mhm.
don't, maybe that's not what you're looking for. It's just like Foundation. Have y'all had a chance to watch that yet?
Matt watched some of it.
Mhm. Yeah, I
It
think
was
I
done
caught
really
up on
well.
Foundation.
Yeah,
It's good.
Silo is another one that's really, really
I haven't
good.
watched Silo yet. I really liked the books.
It's awesome. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's really good. And I haven't read the books because it's one of those rare shows where I watched it first. Sometimes
Mhm.
I like that. Sometimes I don't want to know what happens. This is one of those shows where I'm like, damn, I wish I didn't know what was happening. Damn, I wish I could see this through fresh eyes. Because I
Mhm.
love
Yeah.
fucking TV. I watch a lot of TV. I love television.
Well, there's
and I
still
always have.
stories. It's just a different way of engaging in the story.
True.
So
Right. But I think that it is Apple TV's day, and I think that they're doing it better. Severance is better than any show that's been on HBO in a while.
I did
HBO's
actually like really enjoying
I knew you
Severance.
would. I was
Because-
right.
I
I
love
was
every night
right.
Rachel's like, okay, the kids are in bed. Are we going to watch Severance?
Because
Well,
it's
it's
so
really elevated
fucking
satire.
good.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's satire, but it's like the exact kind of satire I like, which is
Mhm.
like
Right.
really, really
Smart
elevated.
people shit.
Almost not recognizable as satire, but
Right.
absolutely satire.
So
Yeah.
so satirical, it feels dramatic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a really hard tone to hit.
It's because
And
Ben
they did.
Stiller is really fucking good at that shit.
And-
He's
Yeah.
very good at it.
the first episode, it went to the credits. It was like directed by Ben Stiller, and Rich was like, "Ben Stiller did this."
Ben
Like,
Stiller
this is Ben
the
Stiller's
this
like
is Ben Stiller's
visionary,
baby.
like
Yeah.
creative masterpiece.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that guy that I wish I don't know his name. I feel sad for not knowing it. King, I think his last name might be King, but the guy that wrote it, Ben Stiller picked it up from him.
Mhm.
He was a guy that worked at a door factory. And so he worked in this very corporate door factory. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of what inspired this like corporate people, who you are in a corporate job and who you are when you're at home.
Yeah.
All
The
of
division
like,
of labor between the
corporate
two.
I think any
bullshit that
yeah.
you try to like make selling doors like feel deeply meaningful and like you're contributing to
mysterious
society.
and important.
You're doing foundational stuff for like society, and
You're just selling
but it's
doors.
doors,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Dan Erickson is the guy the creative
Okay.
genius behind Severance. But Ben Stiller definitely made it come to life. And it's crazy, like thinking of him from Zoolander to this. But I mean, he
Mhm.
has, his range is wild. And if you watch any of the interviews with Ben
Tropic
Stiller, you
Thunder.
can see, which I'm sorry.
It's always been smart satire. It's just
Mhm.
been like masquerading as dumb satire.
Yeah.
Like it's
correct.
even
Yeah.
Zoolander is very
Is-
sophisticated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
Zoolander.
layered.
But
It's
yeah, there's
layered.
layers to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
There's
Tropic
the
Thunder
like
is
slapstick
layered.
layer, but
Yeah.
then there's also
Yeah.
the kind of higher level stuff that
Yeah, there's
some people
it's
might
in
not
the
get.
computer.
Yeah.
What is this? What is this? A building for ants?
Yeah. Which we watched Zoolander and I totally forgot there was an orgy scene. I had to fast forward through the
We watched
orgy
it with the
scene. We
kids.
watched it with
I
the kids
didn't
and I was
realize.
like,
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
the deleted scenes. I don't know if you can even access those anymore, but when we were in college, we would watch the deleted scenes of Mugatu, just like free. What do they call it? Balling? No, free. What's it called?
Ad-libbing?
Improving, like
Improv.
ad-libbing. Yes. That's it. I
Yeah.
know. Zoolander, merman pup, merman.
Comedy is hard. just to
Yeah.
reel it back to Murderbot. But
Yeah,
I like
sorry.
that they're emphasizing the comedy in the books.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is-
it is funny, and it is funny.
And they are funny, but they're not like comedy books. And so
Right.
for them to make a comedy show was an interesting move, and I'm not mad at it. But
Oh, I
playing
thought
up,
that was I thought that was a good move.
I thought that was good. To instead of
Yeah.
emphasizing the drama, because it is, I mean, the underlying story of they create these sentient constructs because that makes them good at their job, but it also makes them realize what's happening to them. And so Mensa in the book calls it a hellish compromise. And it's quite an underlying, like,
I mean, in the show, they straight up call it enslavement, like
Yeah.
first 10 minutes.
Yeah, and Pinley's like, oops,
Like-
did I say that out loud?
Yeah, oops. What you think about that? Lady with your eye strips.
Yep. So, all right. Well, I guess we'll leave it at this, and then
Okay,
we'll
bye.
talk about it. Oh, okay.
I'm not going anywhere.
Bye. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So we won't be able to talk about it next Friday because Matt's gone, but we'll catch up. We'll catch up the next week. So,
What?
yeah, Matt's at a conference, so he will
So
not.
can't he-
Or just you and I can talk about it, Kate.
Matt,
We'll
can you
just-
call in?
Let's see. I think Friday morning I'm going to be on a plane.
Okay, well, we can skip you then.
Yeah. We'll
If
have
that's
a
okay,
Mattless
will you be
week.
mad? Will you feel sad?
No, he'll catch up.
Will you
Yeah.
have hurt feelings?
No. I answer
can
for
say
him.
yes.
No, he's fine. Make eye contact with me, Matt. Okay. Until next time.
You shall look directly into my eyes. Boldness and all, y'all.
Boldness and all.